Welcome to the BBC News at 6 at top headline tonight. European nations announce a walk-up boycott is scattered a statement on FIFA's sell-off plan. It comes after they announced that someone had to the 19th of September to sell the organisation. We'll have this on that with Ollie Foster and Nesta Watson. Also in the pick tonight. Wildfires suffer across the UK as more drought out announced across Wales and more parts of England and Scotland. Also in the pick tonight. Saving mortgages and pensions all impacted by interest rate. The Bank of England suggests we'll have this and that. Also on the Burnham response to Donald Trump's claims about the North Sea oil. And finally, Lee Howe has left this role as head coach of Newcastle. Will be with Peter Levy at 6:30 and will be with Aaron Davidson. BBC London. Aaron, what's in the paper tonight? Yes, more news on droughts across the UK. We'll be speaking to a farmer and a family affected. Also, we will have more on Andy Burnham's plans for social care too. And Peter Levy programme. We will have more on sentencing in whole of Robert Bosch and why that's important for people across Lincolnshire and even Hull included, and more on the droughts across the campaign will be with you in 40 minutes time. And brother with Chris Fox.
We need you right away.
Welcome to the news at 6. I have to wait a few minutes, so I'll be in a sec.
I'm God smart.
So at top headline tonight, we confirm that UEFA, 33 nations from UEFA have agreed to boycott the next World Cup in 2030 if it goes to plan with UEFA set to sell the organisation. It comes after just 12 hours ago that the FIFA president announced that he was selling out his organisation and needed someone to have done it by the 19th of September. If that's the case, 33 nations will boycott the World Cup in 2030. We've got this special report. First report tonight is our sports correspondent Ollie Foster has his 4.5 minute report on the issue of UEFA and what can happen next. Like we will join Ollie Foster for Sports Centre in a minute, but we've got our second report on this issue. Our sports correspondent Nesta Watson has his 4-minute report on the issue.
Hello, good evening. We begin the news hour with breaking news. UEFA members have unanimously voted to boycott the World Cup if FIFA's plans to sell stakes in the World Cup proceed. European football authorities held an emergency meeting this afternoon in response to the proposals set out this week by the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino. UEFA then released a lengthy statement insisting that some things are simply too important to sell. Well, in a moment, we'll get the thoughts of the former FA chairman, David Bernstein, but first let's bring in our sports correspondent, Rob Harris. Rob, do you think this means, with so much anger and opposition, that this plan can possibly go ahead?
This is the nuclear option that UEFA have taken, saying that none of their 55 nations will participate in FIFA competitions as long as Gianni Infantino goes ahead with these plans. It was 2 days ago that Sky News revealed that UEFA was considering a boycott of the World Cup, and now after an emergency meeting today virtually, they have decided to go ahead with that threat, the fact that none of their teams, including England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, the world champions in men's and women's football, Spain, will participate as long as Gianni Infantino tries to sell part of the World Cup to private investors. And UEFA has called that an irresponsible and indefensible decision. And they're talking about governance by intimidation because, well, Infantino is trying to present this as a democratic decision with a consultation. Well, UEFA believe it's an act of coercion because we uncovered that they only have until September the 19th member nations around the world to decide whether or not to accept these proposals. That would see a new spin-off vehicle created to oversee the commercial operations for the World Cup, with around 20% of it owned by private investors, all with links to Donald Trump and his family as well, which has sparked a lot of concern. Well, this is what UEFA said after the meeting finished a short time ago. UEFA and its 55 member associations stand as one. we unanimously and unequivocally reject FIFA's proposal to transfer ownership interests in the World Cup and other FIFA competitions to private investors. The World Cup cannot be treated as an investment product. It is one of football's greatest sporting legacies. It has been built over generations by players, national teams and supporters across every continent. Some things are simply too important to sell. The FIFA World Cup belongs to football. It always will. And so long as Europe has a voice, it will never be for sale. Well, they are very strong words coming on the 60th anniversary of England winning the Men's World Cup. And now it is over to FIFA. What does happen? It was in 2021 that UEFA did last deploy the threat of boycotting the World Cup. That was to stop FIFA doubling the frequency from every 4 years to every 2 years. They were so concerned about the impact on their competitions. Well, ultimately, FIFA had to back down then. What will they do now, having formed these plans in secret with JP Morgan and people linked to Donald Trump? Well, it has raised a lot of questions about Gianni Infantino's leadership, with UEFA themselves this week talking about how FIFA are enriching themselves and their friends. And it brings back into the spotlight that relationship between Infantino and Trump during the World Cup, about political interventions impacting things on the field as well. But now there really is a full-scale civil war within world football.
Okay, Rob, thank you very much for that update. Well, in the last few moments, the FA have issued a statement. Let's take a look. They say we stand shoulder to shoulder with our European colleagues and fully support the collective view. We oppose FIFA's plans. The FIFA World Cup belongs to football and always will. Well, let's get more reaction now from the former chairman of the FA, David Bernstein. Good to have you on the programme. Clearly a developing story this evening. UEFA members will boycott the World Cup if this plan goes ahead. Your reaction?
My reaction is, first of all, this was a totally unacceptable deal. I'm delighted that UEFA have taken this stance and that we're part of that. This is another example of terrible governance within FIFA, but I think this time Infantino and FIFA have gone a step too far, and I'm very pleased to see that this is a real sort of eyeball-to-eyeball situation between UEFA and FIFA, but it's time this happened, and I'm very pleased and very supportive of it.
Yeah, so much opposition, so much anger, a really punchy statement, wasn't it, saying this is not merely a profound failure of leadership, but an abdication of FIFA's duty as the custodian of world football. UEFA saying Europe's position is clear, will never land this model our legitimacy. I mean, how can the plan possibly go ahead after this?
Well, I hope it won't. You know, this deal was done with no governance at all, done in secret, with a very tight timetable to try and force a sort of resolution, you know, and with Donald Trump's friends and family and so on. I mean, it really, in a way, beggars belief when you sit back and think about it. So I don't think a World Cup can really take place without UEFA. You can't have Spain and France and ourselves and Holland and Germany and so on not in a World Cup. So I suspect this will be resolved, but I really hope that UEFA stick by their guns now. They've taken a stance. They really need to stay with it, and this will need a real back down by Infantino and FIFA. I don't think there's room for compromise. You can't compromise on a situation of this sort.
What about the FA? We've just heard from them. They say we stand shoulder to shoulder with our European colleagues and fully support the collective view. How do you think they should play it?
I think they're playing it the right way. You know, England on its own, you know, we're a big nation in football, but we can't do very much on our own. If we try to do something against FIFA, frankly, they would tell us where to go. But with UEFA, we're very, very powerful. So I think it's absolutely right that we work with UEFA. We're part of that. And in a sense, we let UEFA lead on this as long as we give it our full support. So I think the positioning, the wording of what they've said is absolutely right.
Yeah, certain irony, isn't there, that this row happening 60 years to the day that England won the World Cup?
Indeed, I'm afraid to say I remember it well. I'm of an age that I watched on telly, and my wife and I went to outside the hotel in Knightsbridge where the team was staying afterwards to see the celebrations. It was a day to remember. Little did I think that 60 years afterwards we'd still be talking about it. as their own international win. But there you go. But we need to, I hope we're part of the next World Cup, and I hope Europe is part of it, but this deal needs to be put aside. But by the way, I think there are other solutions, there are other ways of raising capital, because I think the only merit about this in principle is that I think to raise substantial funds to distribute to national societies, particularly the poorer ones across the world, where a great deal of work can be done on infrastructure, helping kids with their football and so on, is very important. So I think there's a sort of an element of merit, but not to do it this way.
It's not just about the moral high ground with this, though, is it? The Premier League, the biggest league in the world, the Champions League, the biggest competition in club football. I mean, would an expanded World Cup with more teams played every couple of years rather than 4 also be a commercial threat to European football?
Well, it would indeed. I mean, the beauty of the World Cup is that it's not every 2 years or every year. Every 4 years, it sort of gives time for other things to take place. It's a bit like the Olympic Games. If you have the Olympic Games every year, it would lose its value. I think every 4 years is right. But there is a danger, of course, with this sort of commerciality and bringing in commercial investors of this sort, that the things you're describing would happen. Higher ticket prices and more advertising and various commercial things that we would find very acceptable.
I suppose, David, for very wealthy teams, for huge footballing organisations,
I didn't list any. Speak to our sports correspondent, Ollie Foster, who has been live in the sports sense. So, Ollie, an interesting development to do with UEFA and the FIFA governing body about this issue. So UEFA to boycott the World Cup if FIFA plans to approve, while European Football 55 Members Association have voted to boycott the World Cup if the sports governing body proceeds with a plan to sell the stay in a competition to private investors. Here's more about this, Ollie. Good evening to you. Well, very good evening to you, Keegan. Good evening to everybody here. And yeah, this is quite shocking and developing news to do with the FIFA and the governing body and the FIFA president tonight. Some people are happy with the boycott for the next World Cup, which the next World Cup will be in 2030. So some people are happy about this move. Some people are showing their frustration, their anger against this issue by FIFA. This decision was made at an emergency meeting. So they had an emergency meeting for FIFA and President had an emergency meeting today. It says calling to discuss the promotion announcement earlier this week by FIFA, which oversees world football. USA, which governing European football had already made it oppositely clear by releasing 2 damaging statements, and that strength of feeling have been eliminated. The World Cup can't be treated as an investigation product, it said on Thursday. It's one of football's greatest sporting legacies. It has been built over generations by players and national teams, supporters across every continent. No part of it should even be surrendered to private investors, because they are planning to sell it to private investors. The World Cup is not for sale. It understands the FA chairman Debbie Hewitt and the chief Mark Benningham were among those to speak during the meeting, with atmosphere descriptions as feminist. Such was strength of feeling against this. Despite being one of 8 FIFA vice presidents, who had no knowledge of the discussion that FIFA President Gianni Infantino had been having regular for also UEFA boycott would cover all FIFA competitions, including the men's and women's World Cups and the Club World Cup, and will be triggered if Infantino proceeds and voting throughout by members. The first time this start will be tested as a senior tournament in October, when the Women's World Cup playoffs are about to be held. So you can get the idea of what he's planning to do if this all goes his way for plan of what FIFA wants us to do, because they want it started by the 19th of September. What happens next, Ollie? I just want to keep reading this. For FIFA wants to create a chemical substance to run its main offence, including for World Cup, and extended investigations will be able to buy stake in it. It says it would invite third parties to make not controlling investments in a new substance for FIFA forward enterprise. The plan needs to be passed of FIFA's 211 members. So 200 members of FIFA have to vote and agree with this plan. Fact 50% is doing. So that's the latest. Okay, I want to thank you.
What does a drought mean for you? And is the UK running out of water? Well, I've been having a look at what's going on. This
So now UK droughts are happening up and down the countries. 9 parts of the UK are now under drought. It's having a massive effect on farms, food production, crops, all sorts. It's even been confirmed today that a couple main parts of us have been confirmed to be under drought today as well. It comes after more frustration with the heatwave because only 7% of this month has been rainfall. First, it's been a very dry and humidity month this July. And with BBC Weather presenter Sarah Keith Lucas has the latest for us, Sarah.
Alex did it. Oh, thanks, Dad. He wants to show you what he's trying to plan for the master class.
What? I've seen it.
What are you saying about this?
What do you think I'm going to say about it?
Has he ruined it?
Alfie always ruins it, doesn't he?
He wants to make it better. Do you think he's got 1,000 of cash spare? As I don't.
I don't.
But he thinks he can create this in fast pace.
Our other main story, a wildfire on Heathland in Suffolk is still out of control. A caravan and holiday park have been evacuated.
Because he is trying to go knock your old village place down. So.
On this financial pitch. Simon Jack there.
Soon. Yeah, soon. I said soon. God, Charlie, you never really listen. You're thick.
Now, our other main story tonight, more than 100 firefighters are trying to bring a wildfire in Suffolk under control after a major incident was declared and dozens of people were forced to leave their homes and caravans. The Prime Minister said this afternoon that the county's fire and rescue service will have all the support it needs to deal with what he called a very serious blaze. The wildfire broke out on Dunwich Heath last night and covers an area equivalent to 210 football pitches. No injuries have been reported so far, and Suffolk's fire chief says there's currently no risk to the nuclear power station Sizewell B, which is about 4 miles away. Our correspondent Navtesh Johal is in the village of Westleton. Navtesh.
Jane, we're about 2.5 to 3 miles from Dunwich Heath, where the fire continues to rage. And this is about as close as we can get to it due to road closures. We have seen, though, fire engine after fire engine go up and down this road throughout the day, and we understand that the fire is still not under control. Behind me is Westleton Village Hall, which has been acting as a temporary evacuation centre, and it's where the fire service should be giving us an update on the situation fairly shortly. But this has been a 24 hours, the likes of which nobody around here has ever seen before. Smoke, clawing upwards, choking the sky. More than 24 hours since the fire began, this landscape is still aflame. It began on Dunwich Heath on the Suffolk coast at around 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and by late evening people were being evacuated from their homes and the nearby caravan park.
11:30, there was a bang on the door, and we were told to leave. No time to pick up anything, just get out straight away. So we did get into our car, and we drove here, which is about 2.5 miles, and we've been here all night in the car.
We were just having a late supper, and he knocked on the door and he said, prepare to evacuate. So we put the supper in the bin and got our few bits and pieces and left.
Archie was asked by a firefighter to help with the rescue effort.
Knocking everyone's doors, wake people up. I had to get this woman and her 2 babies out of bed and get their car packed. When I was running around that last bit, knocking on people's doors, the smoke was so thick I could only see about 5 feet in front of me.
Evacuees were brought to the nearby village hall and were housed overnight by local residents in Westleton. Meanwhile, firefighters tried to contain the blaze. 120 of them and 18 fire engines are now on site, dealing with the fire, which has spread across 100 hectares, the size of 140 football pitches.
It's unprecedented, really, for Suffolk Fire and Rescue to go to 18 fire engines. I've been to some significant incidents, but I don't think I've ever had a fire that I've had to deal with that has had 120 firefighters on scene. It is very unusual.
The Prime Minister says the fire service will get all the support it needs.
I will make sure that Suffolk Fire and Rescue Service have all of the support, the mutual aid from other services that they need, and any other resources that need to be brought to bear. It is a serious incident, but we are watching it very closely indeed.
The fire service says there's currently no risk to the nearby nuclear power station Sizewell B, but the fire has also spread to an area of RSPB Minsmere, which is next to Dunwich Heath, endangering rare butterflies, adders and migratory birds. The RSPB says it could now be up to 25 years until their habitat is restored.
Minsmere has the greatest biodiversity of any RSPB reserve in the whole of the UK. They are losing the habitat they depend on, and they won't be able to return after the fire.
The fire service has described it as miraculous that a fire of this scale has so far not resulted in any casualties and only minor damage to a building. But they can't say yet when people will be able to return to their homes. Navtesh Johal, BBC News, Westleton.
Greece is now among the many European countries dealing with wildfires that are destroying homes and agricultural land. Fires are still burning in Spain and Portugal, though in southwest France, people near Bordeaux have been allowed to go home. Thousands of people have been forced to flee their properties on the Greek island of Crete as blazes threatened villages and tourist resorts. 2 firefighters died yesterday while tackling a blaze. David Silito has the latest.
Crete and a lethal mix. Fire and storm.
Let's go live to a farm in Essex. I joined Helena. Helena, good evening, Helena. What's the latest there, Helena? Okay, everyone thinking next, the Bank of England has come up today.
Fast, fair, hassle-free finance gives us momentum. Funding Circle, business finance that backs me. Yeah, we just had a briefing.
So next tonight, the Bank of England leaves utility rate uncharged at 3.75%. Let me just read that out to you. The Bank of England has held interest rates at 3.75% for the 5th time in a row. The decision was expected by analysis at the 9-member weighing up impacts of the Iran war. 6 members voted to hold the rate, while 3 open for a hike to 4%. So that's here's our UK economics editor, Faisal Islam. Faisal has an editor for us. Faisal, good evening. Thank you to Faisal for that.
Yeah, we just had the briefing. So what happens is journalists go in and we have a look at both the decision, but also kind of just as importantly these days, you get what's known as the Monetary Policy Report, which is basically the latest set of bank forecasts. And that matters because, well, right now in particular, we are all trying to work out what is going to be the path for inflation, where is growth going in the future, and then, pertaining to that, what does the Bank of England do? And of course, their job is to try to keep inflation as close as possible to 2%. It is above target. It's basically been above target, give or take, the last 5 years. So, when you're thinking about the cost of living crisis, that is a big part of it. And a lot of people have been wondering, will the bank raise interest rates? They're at 3.75% at the moment. As you already know, and you've reported, they have not done that. And it's worth just underlining, you know, it wasn't that long ago. So after we saw the events that we've seen in the Middle East, after we saw the attacks on Iran at the end of February, oil prices obviously rose sharply. There was an expectation, quite a widespread expectation, that at this point, so July, end of July, start of August, the Bank of England would be raising interest rates. A lot of people had thought that was going to be baked in. Well, they haven't done that. They've left interest rates on hold at 3.75%. The 9 people on the committee, so there's 9 people on the committee, 3 of them did vote for a hike. So if you're kind of looking at the Kremlinology, trying to work out, are certain members going to vote in a different way the next time? You'd say last time around it was 2 people who voted for a hike. This time it was 3 people. So that seems to imply that there is a bit of momentum building for people thinking interest rates should be higher. However, when you look at both what markets expect and what economists expect, most of them think that interest rates are basically going to be on hold. And as I say, that is quite a different story from the story that it looked like only a few months ago, when a lot of people thought at this point the bank is going to be raising interest rates. They might have to do it in the following months as well. Well, at the moment that is not the case. A few other things worth saying. They've looked at their inflation forecast and they think inflation peaks at around 3.2% towards the end of the year and then starts to come down. But as I say, for those families out there who are very conscious, in a way that we haven't really been conscious for a long time, about prices, about the impact on your pockets, about what that means. This is, going to be scant consolation, I think, given that inflation at 3.2% is still well above their target of 2%. But yeah, the big story is rates on hold. Hold 3.75%, not a massive shift in terms of the tone from the Bank of England. They are still basically watching the economy, more to the point watching what's happening in international affairs, because really it's a big international story. Energy prices, if they go up, they affect the UK, and just telling us that they are ready to act if necessary, but for the time being, they are not raising rates.
Well, as latest, because Bank of England came out a couple of hours ago, involving the Bank of England and prices, of course, in that section.
Storm force winds. Wow. There's the view from a...
Drought has today been declared across the whole of Wales. It follows the news yesterday that more than half of England is also officially in drought. And now the National Farmers Union is warning that agriculture is on a knife edge because the recent hot, dry weather is threatening food production. Our Wales correspondent Thomas Morgan has the story.
Look at the cracks.
Has said the work have been evacuated. Island of Athens. His first ever.
Their homes on one of the busiest days of the summer.
Hi everybody, welcome to the July Monetary Policy Report press conference. With us today are Claire Lombardelli, Deputy Governor for Monetary Policy, Dave Ramsden, Deputy Governor for Markets and Banking, and the Governor, Andrew Bailey. Andrew will begin with opening remarks and then we'll turn to questions.
Well, thank you, Katie. The situation in the Middle East remains volatile, and as a result, so do global energy prices. Oil prices in the 5 months since the conflict began have on average been almost 50% higher than in the months before it, and higher global energy prices will push up on inflation over the coming months. Set against that, the underlying disinflation of the UK economy has continued. Economic activity is subdued and the labour market is soft. There is little as yet to suggest that higher energy prices are becoming embedded in broad-based inflationary pressures in the UK economy, although we cannot draw too much comfort from that at this stage. Today we've kept bank rate at 3.75%. Monetary conditions have tightened for households and businesses since the conflict began. We see that, for example, in higher mortgage rates. And that tightening reflects the underlying economics. In particular, the expected increase in inflation from higher energy prices, which needs to be considered alongside whether the underlying disinflation in the domestic economy will continue. We will monitor the situation carefully and stand ready to adjust our stance as the evidence and our judgments on the outlook evolve. It is our job to ensure that inflation gets back to the 2% target and stays there, and that is what we will do. So I will now set out the outlook for inflation in further detail before turning to the projections and scenarios that have informed the Monetary Policy Committee's decision today. Chart 1, although we seem to have Chart 2 in front of us at the moment. Well, Chart 1, when it appears, I hope it will, shows how the near-term outlook for inflation has shifted in recent months as events in the Middle East have evolved. 12-month CPI inflation has fallen by 0.7 percentage points since March to 2.6% in the latest data for June. That is 0.4 percentage points, here's Chart 1, lower than we expected in April's Monetary Policy Report. Inflation has been lower across a wide range of goods and services, not least food. The underlying disinflation process has been offset by higher energy prices following the conflict in the Middle East. Motor fuel prices are currently contributing 0.6 percentage points. In our latest near-term projection, that's the dashed blue line, higher energy prices push inflation up to a little above 3% by the end of the year. Energy prices remain highly volatile, however. The analysis in today's Monetary Policy Report is based on an average of energy futures prices over the 15 working days up to the 20th of July, and that's shown here in Chart 2. Over this period, front-month Brent crude oil futures prices averaged $78 per barrel, which is below the $100 average ahead of the April report, but above the $64 average in the run-up to the February report. Within those 15 working days, the prices ranged from close to $70 a barrel, while a ceasefire was in place, to close to $90 a barrel after it had ended. And in the few days since the cut-off date for our projections, the Brent oil price has spiked to above $100 before falling back to around $84 earlier this week. As of this morning, it had gone back above $90.
He said he's going to open up North Sea oil. If he does that, you're going to be a wealthy country, if he does it reasonably. And Norway's got trillions of dollars in the bank, trillions. It sells its oil from the North Sea, and Scotland has a better part of the North Sea, and you have 500, 600, 700 years. You have areas of the North Sea that haven't even been explored yet. You have one of the most valuable oil finds anywhere in the world, and if the United Kingdom would use it, they'd be a wealthy country again. And I tell you what, I could not get Starmer to use it. It was incredible. He said he's going to open.
Donald Trump claims Andy Burnham's told him he'll open up North Sea oil. The US President and new Prime Minister. Donald Trump claims Andy Burnham's told him he'll open up North Sea oil. The US President and new Prime Minister spoke on the phone on Mr Burnham's first day in office. There's been no confirmation from the PM, but he's previously hinted it could play a greater role in UK energy. Donald Trump claims
Mr. Donald Trump claims that Andy Burnham has agreed for oil within North Sea. Let's have a quick word with Chris Mason of his Chris Mason episode. So Chris good evening, Keegan. They're going to just a quick briefing on what this is about. They're going to Donald Trump and Burnham spoke on the phone during his first 15 hours in office 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago now. Well, it's been confirmed from the White House that Donald Trump claims that Burnham has agreed on your in for North Sea, but there's been no confirmation from the Maternal from where Westminster that fact will be agreed going forward. Okay, Christopher, thank you. And lastly, tonight, Newcastle head coach Eddie Howe steps down as manager. Can you call on the house phone, please? That's fine. Alright, thanks. So I say Newcastle head coach Eddie Howe stepped down after 5 years in charge. Yes, Eddie Howe has served as far as Newcastle United head coach position has been taken forward discussion with the club over the last 48 hours. I feel Howe has started the biggest role on potential departure. Here's the latest.
Here's the car cloth that erases car scratches instantly. Look, no edits, no Photoshop. We rub it up.
Get straight to the breaking news you can see at the bottom of your screen, and this is quite something. The news that Eddie Howe has left his role as Newcastle United head coach. The decision has been taken following discussions with the club's hierarchy over the last 48 hours, although Howe had started the ball rolling on a potential departure a number of weeks ago. In this time, Eddie Howe has continued to focus on preparing the team for their season opener against Liverpool on the 23rd of August. And they have had, let's not forget, a challenging summer after the sales of Sandro Tonali and Anthony Gordon, and that continues with the uncertainty over their captain Bruno Guimaraes. Those sales have played a factor in Howe's decision amid concerns, we understand, about what the squad will look like at the start of the campaign. He has spent a number of months reflecting on his time at Newcastle and believed he could take the club forward this season, providing Newcastle recruited well this summer. They have signed and of course have changed their approach to the transfer window. They brought in 20-year-old winger Baz Touré from Hoffenheim for £42 million, 18-year-old midfielder Sean Stoyer from Ajax for £23 million, and 20-year-old goalkeeper Ewan Zhao from Rem for £18.5 million. So a younger profile of player, and they've recently, however, appeared to miss out on Manzambi, who decided to move to Aston Villa. A big blow for Howe and the club. And Eddie Howe has been one of Newcastle's greatest ever managers, winning the League Cup to end the club's 70-year wait for silverware, as well as taking the club into the Champions League on 2 occasions after sealing top 5 finishes in the Premier League. This is quite incredible news this morning coming through. Eddie Howe has left his role as the Newcastle United head coach. Let's get some instant reaction to this news with Jay Boothroyd. Wow. Did you see that coming?
I mean, I just mentioned it like literally 10 minutes ago. I said I won't be surprised if, you know, Eddie Howe starts looking elsewhere, because all his best players are leaving. When all your best players are leaving, it makes you think, like, where is the club going? He's a top manager, like you said there. You know, he won a cup at Newcastle. But I mean, when you look at it, Tonali leaving, one of the best in the world. Gimires could potentially leave now. It looks like he is one of the best midfielders in the world. Anthony Gordon, one of the best wingers in the Premier League for sure. Trippier left as well. You know, even though he left. There's just so many players leaving there. And to be honest, I can understand why he would want to leave now, because he's saying, listen, at the end of the day, I had a strong squad. You've taken away some of the best players that I've had, some of the best players in the Premier League, and you're replacing them with unproven players in the Premier League. He obviously doesn't... It seems to me like he doesn't have the control that he wants. Obviously, these players, he doesn't want to see them leave, and I think that's why they're all leaving now. Because he's got a good relationship with him. Gimires has always said that, you know, he speaks to him, you know, there's a respect there as well, but it's just really, really bad times for Newcastle yet again. I mean, this is even worse than last year. You know, losing Isak and, you know, obviously him not turning up at training is one thing, but now you're losing one of the best managers in the country for sure. You've lost all your best players. You know, where did Newcastle go from here? Like, who is going to want to go in at Newcastle realistically? It's going to be an unproven manager, because, you know, who wants to put themselves in a situation where you're losing all your best players, you don't have a strong side? I mean, I said mid-table, but now I'm thinking bottom half of the table. Now they've lost Eddie Howe.
Well, it is the timing of this as well. Of course,
terrible
there were
timing.
maybe some whispers towards the end of the season. But you think you get the pre-season, the plans are underway for the new campaign, not long to go now, and then this news hits at this time.
Exactly, and that's the thing, you know, when you're preparing for your season, and we was talking about players, you know, players having a full pre-season, how that can affect them. You know, a team as a whole, not, you know, working together, not having a manager, having a lot of, you know, uncertainty in the training ground is so bad. It's such a bad look for Newcastle right now. It's such a bad look for the ownership. You know, because when the new owners came in, you know, they was talking about, you know, Newcastle challenging for the title, and I think it was like 5 or whatever years. Now you look at them, they're way off it. You know, they could have a relegation battle this year. That's how far off it they are. They've lost their best players. I got my producer in my ear saying to me, nah. But I'm telling you right now, they could be in a relegation battle, and it's not a joke. You know, teams are getting stronger, Newcastle are getting weaker.
There is more to Argos. Oh, brain freeze.
I never get those.
See what August brings, warm weather-wise. It's really bad. So, how's baby today? That's okay. You always repeat between 3 o'clock and 3:30. I do it now. Alright, bye-bye. Let's go to our top headline tonight. Our top headline.
Hi, Brigade. So far.
Hello and welcome to the BBC News at 6. European football's governing body, UEFA, says all its members, including England, will boycott the 2030 Men's World Cup if a deal to sell stakes in the competition to private investors, proposed by the FIFA president Gianni Infantino, goes ahead. It follows an offer by Infantino of billions of pounds in payouts to football federations, including those in Europe, if they sign up to his plan. But in the last couple of hours, UEFA said the proposal amounted to an abdication of FIFA's role as the custodian of world football. Our sports correspondent Jane Dougal has the latest.
Spain, champions of the world.
Just 11 days ago, FIFA called this World Cup the most successful yet. Now, Gianni Infantino, the most powerful man in the sport, is facing his biggest challenge as football descends into civil war. Following an emergency meeting, all 55 European members defiantly voted to boycott FIFA tournaments if Infantino's plans to sell stakes in competitions to private investors go ahead. In a statement, they said, "The World Cup is not for sale. It is both irresponsible and indefensible that a proposal of such significance for football was conceived in secret. This is not merely a profound failure of leadership, but an abdication of FIFA's duty as the custodian of world football."
It would be a lose-lose for everybody. FIFA can't afford not to have European nations playing in their competitions in the World Cup. And frankly, we, in a way, Europe, also really can't afford not to be part of it. So there's every reason to try and settle this. But I think on this occasion, Infantino's got to back down.
The FA have reacted, saying they stand shoulder to shoulder with their European colleagues, as do the Scottish FA. Infantino needs the majority of the 211 member associations to vote for his controversial proposal to sell off stakes in FIFA's major events, offering them £30 million as an incentive, with a deadline of the 19th of September.
He has a golden opportunity to turbocharge the development of the game globally. But again, it is just an offer, not an obligation, because it's for winners only.
Infantino's relationship with USA President Donald Trump has come into question. If the plans go through, the investment fund FIFA is dealing with, Thrive Capital, is led by Josh Kushner, a close relation of Donald Trump's. This unprecedented European rebellion could mean Infantino's leadership is under threat.
UEFA is demonstrating that there is a greater interest for football, that football belongs to everyone, and this is a very strong signal to Gianni Infantino. I can't imagine him staying in his position as it is for now.
It was 60 years ago today that England won the World Cup, but now they appear to be fighting for the credibility of the competition. UEFA says so long as Europe has a voice, it will never be for sale. Jane Dougal, BBC News.
So what are the numbers behind this dispute? Simon Jack has been investigating.
Now, FIFA is actually a not-for-profit organisation owned by 211 football associations around the world, and it owns the rights to the World Cup. The World Cup in Qatar 4 years ago made nearly £6 billion, and it's thought that the recent World Cup in the US may have made double that amount, thanks to more lucrative TV deals, more adverts in hydration breaks, sponsorship, and of course higher ticket prices. Now, FIFA thinks it can make even more and wants to sell a stake in a $20 billion for-profit company that will own those rights to private investors with the commercial nous to maximise revenue. The plans came out of discussions between FIFA boss Gianni Infantino, who handed Donald Trump a FIFA Peace Prize, and Joshua Kushner, brother of Donald Trump's son-in-law. But Mr. Infantino is offering FIFA members a carrot and a stick. Vote in favour and we'll give you £15 million immediately, rising to £30 million if the deal is done. Vote against and you'll get only a quarter of that amount. Now, £15 million is peanuts to the FA or UEFA, but transformative for island nations like unlikely World Cup heroes Cape Verde. Look at this. In a FIFA presentation to members, they estimate that FIFA makes $1 per worldwide fan every year. Premier League makes more than double that, and the NFL 50 times as much. FIFA wants to be more like that. And now UEFA have handed FIFA the biggest ultimatum. Drop their investment plan or all 55 of its national associations will boycott FIFA competitions. But with millions on offer to many smaller nations, money is a very powerful player on this financial pitch.
Simon Jack there. Now, our other main story tonight, more than 100 firefighters are trying to bring a wildfire in Suffolk under control after a major incident was declared and dozens of people were forced to leave their homes and caravans. The Prime Minister said this afternoon that the county's fire and rescue service will have all the support it needs to deal with what he called a very serious blaze. The wildfire broke out on Dunwich Heath last night and covers an area equivalent to 210 football pitches. No injuries have been reported so far, and Suffolk's fire chief says there's currently no risk to the nuclear power station Sizewell B, which is about 4 miles away. Our correspondent Navtej Johal is in the village of Westleton. Navtej.
Jane, we're about 2.5 to 3 miles from Dunwich Heath, where the fire continues to rage. And this is about as close as we can get to it due to road closures. We have seen, though, fire engine after fire engine go up and down this road throughout the day, and we understand that the fire is still not under control. Behind me is Westleton Village Hall, which has been acting as a temporary evacuation centre, and it's where the fire service should be giving us an update on the situation fairly.
Tonight at 6.
Let's have a look at the weather. So, tonight's largely dry and clear in the south, with just a few showers in the southeast. Cloudy in the north and west, with showers in the North Wales, Northern Ireland, and the north and west of Scotland. Tomorrow will be cloudy in the north, with scattered showers. These failing locally. Heavy southern areas will be generating dry. Friday, a bit cloudy in the north, a few showers but mainly sunny, a really cool day with variable cloud and sunny spells, warm in the southeast. The outlook for the weekend. So Saturday, for the weekend Saturday will be largely sunny spells for most of the UK. Scotland may see isolated showers on and off on Saturday in Scotland, mainly across the far north. Sunday will be the most dry and sunny to start, but cloud will build up into the western areas of England in the afternoon. A few spots of light rain to the western areas later in the day. Cloudy and wet in the north on Monday with heavy rains, sunny spells. So going into next week, Monday we will see heavy showers, but they will go away and we'll be back with sunny spells. A risk of heavy showers in the south. That's the latest weather.
Hello there. Although it's still very warm across southeastern parts of the UK today, we are in a bit of a cooling phase with cooler and fresher air moving down from the northwest. It's been following this very weak weather front. There's been mostly a band of cloud. There's still the odd spot of rain or drizzle coming from that as it sits across East Anglia in the southeast through the evening and overnight. Further north, we'll have some clearer skies as the showers retreat towards the far northwest. And for most of us, it's going to be quite a cool night. Temperatures could be down to 8 or 9 degrees, but still quite warm under the cloud towards southeastern parts of England. That cloud will tend to move away. Any spots of rain will move away as well, and the sunshine will come through. We will, however, see more showers breaking out in Scotland and more for Northern Ireland, 1 or 2 for Northern England. Head further south and it's looking dry, and there'll be more sunshine and light winds. And it's still going to feel quite warm in the sunshine, but temperatures perhaps 25 or 26 in the southeast, and obviously much cooler as you head further north. Moving into Saturday, and we're going to find a few more showers coming into Scotland, 1 or 2 for Northern England. Showers tending to die out. It may well be dry in Northern Ireland. A lot of dry weather for England and Wales. Temperatures not changing a great deal on Saturday, up to around 26 Celsius. Second half of the weekend should see the back of those showers. Some sunshine, some cloud, maybe getting warmer in the southeast.
Well, that's it for me and for the evening team. We can join Peter Levy with Peter was on the programme tonight. And the programme, we've got a 25-minute show on the programme tonight. We'll have more of this development at Holcombe Court as Rob Bush continues his court, and tomorrow he'll be sentenced also on the programme. More on drought as farmers across North Lincolnshire have related to be speaking to a farmer and a local farm husband and wife who used to own a farm. Facilities. We can join with the London team with Aaron Davidson and what's on the programme tonight. Also on our programme tonight for Britain and London. Droughts having effects across the UK will be versus Suffolk, and even more on Wales this issue. So as we speak to Wales with chief reporter Angela Watson and weather. And so Peter Levy will be doing Look North, and Aaron Davison will be doing BBC London. I'm back with the BB. I'll be back later on with BBC 6 at 9:50 PM. I see you then. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye bye. Bye.